Well, let's get more reaction now to Mthethwa's passing, and we're joined by his former advisor, Walter Mokoena. Mr. Mokoena, good evening to you, and good to talk to you, albeit under very difficult circumstances. You used to work with the former Minister Nathi Mthethwa as his advisor. Are you shocked by this news?
Good evening, Tolly, and good evening to the viewers on Newzroom Afrika and the country at large. First, I'd like to express my deepest condolences to the Mthethwa family, the Buthelezi family, and the whole country at large. I'm in absolute shock. One has not even been able to process this news. When I received a message from my former colleague, Mr. Mthethwa I thought, this is a bad joke, but it's, complete and utter shock at this moment.
Yeah. And Walter, it's exactly what I would like to talk to you about, because the French authorities are suggesting that they reacted to them being alerted from his wife that she had received a very worrying message from him, and so they went therefore in search, worried that there might be a potential suicide. Knowing the man, Nathi Mthethwa, would you say that he would want to do something like that? He would be someone who would even have shown signs of possibly leaving this earth in that way? I don't know if it's too sensitive a question to ask at a time like this.
Well, for me, I cannot match the two, because the Nathi Mthethwa that I knew, he was a fearless man, very brave, very courageous. So when I hear that there are, such suspicions, it does not speak of the man that I knew. So, you wonder, because, as you probably know, I lived in the city of Paris. I know where Port Maillot is. And in my experience, and somebody who, without casting aspersions on these reports, it's very puzzling that when you're an ambassador, there's a security detail, there's intelligence, there's all these security apparatus around a man, who's the representative of the president and the country at large. So it is quite puzzling, but I cannot understand from the man that I knew, very, very strong, very fearless. But then again, in life, life happens.
Yeah.
But I cannot accept it in that manner. I refuse to do so based on the man that I knew, the character of the person that I knew. For me, it's very hard to match the two.
Yeah, and exactly based on what you've just said, Walter, and I know you and I are speaking under speculative terms right now. Let's try and paint the picture of what the reporter in Paris was telling us here a little earlier, and that is that the minister left his residence. He goes and checks himself in at a hotel on the 22nd floor, and then later he is discovered outside that hotel. The phone is not with him. The phone is found at a park not too far from the hotel. Do you think South African authorities need to be asking more difficult questions of the French authorities? I'm assuming here, Walter, you say you've lived in that district. Surely there should be surveillance cameras everywhere. No one has seen the former ambassador possibly forcing open a window of a hotel and possibly jumping to his death. But based on the picture that's being painted, that's what we are meant to believe.
Well, there was one very famous American president who was famous for saying the following words: "Be careful of the initial reports." I'll take a page out of his book and say also, be careful out of the initial reports. And at this point in time, a very sensitive period, I wouldn't like to be part of the speculative realm, other than to say that my belief is obviously it's very suspicious, and as you say, difficult questions need to be asked. This is not just a normal civilian, Tony, who just decides, wakes up in the morning and say, no, I want to go and book myself into a hotel. As I say, there is a security detail, and the people who look after him are there to make sure that such things, such incidences or accidents, you might call it, do not easily happen. It is for that reason that such detail is there. And I think there's some questions there, and very hard questions that I think need to be posed to the French authorities. Because, again, if you arrive in a hotel, you are an ambassador of a country. You can just book into a hotel, and there's a lot of questions that even at this stage, it's very baffling, it's very puzzling, Tolly, this whole thing. I can't even make sense of it because it does not make sense.
Yeah, indeed. Walter, final question to you. As someone who has worked closely with Ambassador Mthethwa, I'm assuming that you would also have known his family to an extent. Philisiwe Mthethwa is his wife. She's the one that alerted the police. And how do you think they are holding up tonight?
Mrs. Pili and I are obviously very close over the years. We've worked through some most difficult moments when we were in office between 2019 and 2021, at least the 2 years that I spent there. And she must be absolutely devastated, Philisiwe, and the whole Buthelezi family, Butisifiso, and the whole family. And then, of course, the deceased family, KwaMaphumulo, they must be really devastated because, he was a strong man, and those who knew him carried himself almost like a chief from where he come from, if you know the history of the Mthethwas. So a very, very proud man, almost very traditional, and that's how he carried himself. So the family must be very devastated, and I cannot imagine, what they must be going through at this point in time. But again, I think we need to just allow the process to unfold and also give them space, to deal with this tragedy, because it is a tragedy. We must remember that also Philisiwe has a history, Mrs. Mthethwa, with France. She did her internship at our embassy in France in her younger days when she completed university. She would later start working for the French bank, BNP Paribas, before she later, as an investment banker, before coming back to South Africa. So for her, and she also received a high honor from the French ambassador to South Africa for outstanding work, community work in promoting French culture to South Africa. So this is a very, very, very touching and emotional story to unfold, that you go back there with your husband, who's now an ambassador to France, and such a tragedy happens. It is, words fail me, really. It is, It is very tragic and it's very sad. But we've lost a man, a leader, a father, a husband, and a giant of our leadership in South Africa.
Walter Mokoena, thank you very much for your time tonight, and condolences to you as you and indeed the country at large reflect on the life and times of the former minister and now recently the former ambassador to France.